You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Hey, and welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. I am your host, Monique T. Marshall. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the family. And if you've been rocking with us for a while, welcome back. And I just appreciate you for showing up every week and being a part of this community of Black entrepreneurs who are really serious about growing and building businesses that last. So this October, we're doing something special. It's a solo series, so it's just you and me for this month. And the focus of this series is helping you finish the year strong and go into 2026 with your foot on the gas. And the theme of this month is consistency. And you'll notice it's the thread running through each episode because the way you show up right now determines how your business moves in the months ahead. So we're in a time where things are changing so fast. You got the new technology, you got new trends, you got new expectations. But what's going to help your business stand out, no matter what changes, is your ability to stay consistent. So this is not the season to slow down or take your foot off the pedal. This is your time to lean in, to double down on what's working, and to position yourself for growth in the new year. And my goal with this series is to give you the tools and the strategies to do just that, to stay consistent, to stay visible, and to stay confident as we close out the year. So just to give you a recap of what's been going on so far in the series. So in episode 272, we talked about how to create consistent content without overwhelm. So how to build a system that actually works for your real life. So not a fairy tale or what's working for somebody else, but what works for you. And then in episode 273, we got into the power of visibility and consistent content for us as Black founders and why being seen matters and how to use your voice to open doors. Now today, we're going to take it a step further because once you've been consistent and visible, the next level is credibility. So building the kind of trust that makes people believe in what you do and want to work with you. So this episode is about how to use content to build that credibility. And we'll get into what credibility means, how to show it through your content, and what to avoid so that your message lands with trust and not confusion. So whether this is your first time tuning in or you've been with us from the start of this season, I'm going to let you know that you're in for a good episode because I went in on the prep for this conversation. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let's talk about what credibility actually means, because I think sometimes that word gets thrown around without people really understanding what it looks like in practice. And a lot of times when we hear credibility, we think about looking polished, having perfect branding, or sounding super professional. And while presentation does matter, credibility is deeper than aesthetics. So credibility is alignment. It's when what you say, what you show, and what people experience from you all match. When someone interacts with your content, listens to your podcast, or reads your captions, or sees you speak, they walk away saying, yeah, I believe that. That checks out. And that's what credibility is. For us, especially as Black founders, credibility is the foundation. It's how you build trust in spaces where you may not have the same connections, capital, or visibility as others, yet it is what makes people say yes to you, whether that's a client, a collaborator, or an investor. And here's something I also want you to remember throughout this process is that you don't have to wait for external validation to be credible. And you don't have to have a feature in Forbes, or you don't have to have 1 million followers even. You build credibility by being consistent, clear, and confident in what you bring to the table. So it's all about taking that power and owning your power. It's not about showing people that you're quote unquote legit. It's about proving it through your actions, through your message, your delivery, and the experiences that you create for others. So let's make this practical for a second. So think about somebody that you follow online. Maybe it's a business coach, a creative, a speaker, or another founder that you really respect. Ask yourself why you see them as credible. And it's probably not because they post fancy graphics or they got big numbers. It's because they show up with clarity. They know their lane and they talk about what they know well, and they do it consistently. You can feel that they've put in the work. And that's what credibility looks like in action. It's not just about looking like you know your stuff. It's about showing that you've done the work, you've lived the lessons, and you can back up what you say. And for us as Black founders, that piece is really important because so often we're building in unfamiliar rooms, or we're the first ones in our family or our community to do what we're doing. So credibility becomes more than just a business tool. It's how we open up doors for ourselves and also for those people who are in our community or those people who are coming behind us. So when your content consistently reflects your values, your expertise, and your results, it starts working for you even when you're not online. And that's the difference between attention and authority. Attention might get you a few clicks or likes, but authority gets you booked, recommended, and also trusted. And here's where I see a lot of entrepreneurs, even really talented ones, miss the mark. They focus so much on being seen that they forget to show what they know. So visibility is what gets you noticed, and credibility is what makes people stay. So how do you build it? You build credibility through alignment, through the consistency of your message, the clarity of your voice, and the follow through of your actions. So when people see you showing up regularly, sharing knowledge that's valuable, and delivering what you promise, that's where that trust starts to form. And trust is what converts an audience into believers, and believers in, of course, buyers. So I want to make this even more tangible for you. So here's a quick reflection exercise I want you to do right now. So if someone scroll through your last 10 posts, or they listen to your last few podcast episodes, what would they walk away believing about you? Would they know what you do? Would they understand the kind of results that you create? Will they see the passion and the purpose behind your work? Or will they just see someone trying to post because you're supposed to? And that reflection alone is important because it can tell you where your credibility gaps might be. Because every piece of content you share should point back to who you are, what you do, and why people can trust you to deliver on it. And when you start aligning your message with your actions and your content reflects that consistently, people don't have to guess. They already know. And once people know, that's when opportunities start finding you. All right, now that we've unpacked what credibility really means, let's talk about how to actually use your content to build it. Because content isn't just something you post to stay active online. It's how people learn to trust you. So every time you share something, you're teaching your audience what to believe about your business. Think about this for a second. Every post, every caption, every podcast episode, every newsletter you send out is shaping how people see you. It's telling a story about your brand, whether you realize it or not. So the goal isn't just to post anymore, it's to post with intention. Your content should do 3 things for you: teach, show, and prove. And let's break that down. Teaching is where the credibility begins. So when you teach, you give people something that they can use. So that can be an idea, a mindset shift, or a quick win that makes their day or their business better. You're positioning yourself as a resource, not just a business. And this doesn't mean that you have to give everything away. It means that you need to show people that you know what you're talking about and that you care enough to help. And I like to say you teach the what and you sell the how. So teaching content might look like breaking down a common misconception in your industry or sharing a lesson learned from your own experience. Another example might be simplifying something complicated that your audience struggles with. So when you do that consistently, people start to look at you as a voice that they can rely on, not just somebody showing up when they have something to sell. The next step is showing, because credibility isn't built only by what you say, it's built by what people see. So I want you to pull back the curtains and show the process. Let people in on how you do what you do. Maybe it's how you prepare for a client call. Maybe it's a snippet of how you create your product or how you handle challenges in your business. And this kind of content builds connection because it feels real and human. It shows that you don't just talk about the work, you're actually doing it. And for us as Black founders, this part is really important and it matters a lot because historically, our excellence hasn't always been documented. So when you're showing your work, you're not just building credibility. You're creating this record of excellence that says, we've been doing this. And you're letting people see the process behind the product. And finally, you have to prove. And this is where you share evidence that what you teach and show actually works. So that might mean highlighting results, testimonials, milestones, or even your own transformation. Proof gives your audience confidence that you can deliver on what you promise. And here's the part that I think a lot of people overlook. Proof doesn't have to come only from clients or customers. It can come from your own story, your consistency, or even community feedback. So for example, maybe you posted a tip and somebody commented, I tried that and it worked. That's still social proof. Or maybe you've grown your email list, landed a collaboration, or built something from scratch. That's also proof. Every time you teach, show, and prove, you're stacking that evidence of credibility. And the more evidence you have, the less you have to convince people. Your work starts to speak for itself. So here's what I want you to think about within the next week. I want you to look at your last few pieces of content, your posts, your emails, your videos. Ask yourself, which of these teach, show, or prove? And where can I start bringing in more of each one? Because when you start creating with this kind of intention, your content does more than show up. It speaks for you. It builds trust. It builds authority. And it makes people want to take the next step with you. Now that we've talked about how to use your content to build credibility, let's talk about what can make all of this work go to waste. Because sometimes it's not about the fact that you're not credible. It's that what you're showing online doesn't reflect the work you're really putting in. And there are a few things that can quietly weaken your credibility. And the good news is every one of them can be fixed once you know what to look for. So mistake number one is trying to look credible instead of being credible. So you don't build credibility by looking like you're doing the work. You build credibility by actually doing the work. And too many entrepreneurs get caught up in trying to make things look perfect, like the right lighting, the trendy sounds, the fancy templates, and they forget that people actually can feel authenticity, especially in today's age. Your audience knows the difference between someone performing expertise and somebody who's actually living it. And when they sense that your focus is more on image than impact, they scroll right on past you. Not because they don't see your effort, but because they don't feel your authenticity. So I want you to think about, am I creating content that is meant to impress people or content that is meant to help them? Because credibility doesn't come from performing, it comes from proof. And mistake number two is speaking to everybody instead of staying in your lane. You cannot build credibility in confusion. When you try to talk to everyone, your message starts to blend in with the noise. The most credible entrepreneurs, when I think about it, they know who they're talking to and what problem they solve. And they also know the space with confidence. So you don't have to be known for everything. You just need to be known for something specific that people can connect you to. As Black entrepreneurs, that clarity is even more important because when you stay in your lane, you make it easier for your community to find you, support you, and then also refer you. And when people know what you do, they can mention your name in rooms that you haven't even entered yet. So ask yourself, what am I the go-to for? If someone describes my business in one sentence, will they get it right? And then mistake number 3 is only showing the highlight reel. All right. So here I want to be honest because online it is so easy to only show the good stuff. The new client wins, the polished photos with the arms folded, the speaking engagements. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with celebrating it. You should. But if that's all people ever see, they'll think of your business being too perfect and not credible. And so credibility is not about perfection. It's about showing the full picture, the lessons, the growth, the behind the scenes that remind people you're human too. So you don't have to overshare, but you do have to be real. And when you let people see the journey, not just the outcome, it builds that trust because they can see that your results are rooted in real experience and not just those highlight moments. So think about it. Am I letting people see the process behind the progress? And then mistake number 4 is inconsistency in message or tone. Now, this is a big one because you cannot build trust if people never know who's going to show up. If your content sounds one way this week and it's a completely different thing next week, your audience won't know what to expect. They don't know who's showing up. The goal isn't to be predictable, it's just to be dependable. People should be able to recognize your voice, your message, and your energy anywhere they find you. Consistency isn't about how often you post, it's about how often people can count on you to show up in alignment with what you say you believe. So do a quick gut check. If someone saw my content today, would they instantly know it's me? And when you start addressing these small gaps, trying to look the part, talking to everybody, or showing wins, sending mixed messages, your credibility naturally starts to strengthen. And when your credibility grows, you don't have to convince people to trust you. They already do because you've shown them who you are. Now that we've talked about the things that can weaken your credibility, let's focus on how to strengthen it. Because credibility is not something you can just be out here claiming. It's something that you build and you do it little by little through what people consistently experience from you. So I want to share a framework that helps you do exactly that. It's called the 4 C's of credibility. And this is something that you can come back to anytime you're planning your content, refining your brand, or just making sure your presence feels aligned. The 4 C's are clarity, consistency, connection, and community proof. So let's start with clarity. So clarity is the foundation of credibility. So if people are confused about what you do, they can't trust you to help them. You need to be able to clearly communicate who you serve, what problem you solve, and how your work makes people's lives or businesses better. And the more specific you are, the easier it is for people to connect with your message. And clarity does not mean that you have to niche down so tightly that you feel boxed in. It just means that your audience should understand you quickly. So here's your reflection question for this one. If someone described my business in one sentence, would they get it right? If not, that's where you start. And the second C is consistency. So we've talked about this throughout this entire series because it is so important. Consistency builds trust through familiarity. It's how people learn your voice, your flow, and your message. But I also want to stress this. Consistency isn't about how often you post. It's about how often people can count on you to show up in alignment. That means your tone, your message, and your energy stay recognizable even as your content evolves. It's that sense of, I know what I'm getting into when I tune in. So ask yourself, am I showing up enough for people to remember me? And when I do, does my message sound the same across every platform? Because credibility grows when people know what to expect and you keep delivering it. The third C is connection. And credibility does not work without connection. People trust people they feel connected to. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if your audience doesn't feel you, if they can't relate to you, they won't stay engaged long enough to see your expertise. Connection is built when your content speaks to both their head and their heart. And that means that you're not just giving information, you're giving insight. You're not just selling a service, you're sharing perspective. And as Black founders, this part is really powerful because our connection is cultural. When we bring our full selves, our language, our stories, our sense of humor, our lessons into how we show up, people can see themselves in us. And that's what makes your credibility personal, not performative. So think about it. Does my content sound like me? And does it speak to my audience's real experiences, not just their goals? And the fourth C is community proof. You don't have to convince people that you're credible when other people are already saying it for you. And that's what community proof is all about. It's the social proof, testimonials, collaborations, feedback, and even the shout outs that show your credibility in action. Because it's one thing to say you're good at what you do, but it's another thing for someone else to co-sign it. And community proof doesn't always have to come from clients either. It can come from peers who respect your work, podcast guests who trust your platform, or even comments and messages from people who've learned something from your content. So make sure you're saving those wins. Screenshot the messages, repost the testimonials, and if you don't have any yet, start creating moments that build them, like asking for feedback, showcasing before and after results, or highlighting your process. And that's how you build social proof that feels genuine and not forced. When you bring these 4 C's together, clarity, consistency, connection, and community proof, that's when your credibility starts to compound. Because it's not just what you're saying anymore, it's what people are seeing, feeling, and repeating about you. So here's your challenge for this week. Pick one of the 4 C's and focus on strengthening it. If you need clarity, revisit your message. If you need consistency, set a realistic schedule and stick with it. If you need more connection, start showing more of your personality. And if you're missing community proof, reach out and ask for feedback or share a win. You don't have to fix everything at once. As I said, pick one for this week. And now that you got your framework, let's talk about how to make it all easier to manage. Because although credibility is built through consistency, that doesn't mean you have to do everything by hand or feel guilty when you need support. You can be strategic and smart about how you show up. And this is about working with intention and not exhaustion. Because I know firsthand how much energy it takes to stay consistent when you're the one doing it all, creating the content, managing the business, handling clients, and trying to keep your sanity at the same time. And that's why I believe in using tools to help lighten the load. And for me, tech has become a partner, not a replacement, but a partner. It keeps me organized, keeps my ideas organized. It helps me batch content and stay visible even on the weeks when life gets busy. Because one thing I do know for sure is your credibility grows when your message stays consistent, not when you burn out trying to do everything manually. So whether that's a content scheduler, a task manager, or an AI tool that helps you brainstorm, don't shy away from support. You're not cheating by using tools. You're creating systems that help you show up more effectively. And that's exactly why we created the 30 Days of Content in Hours shortcut. Because I know what it feels like to have these big goals for your business, but no time to plan the content that helps you reach them. And so the shortcut walks you through how to build a content plan around your business goals in just a few hours, not weeks. It helps you brainstorm your content ideas that fit your brand and your message. It helps you draft captions and scripts in your tone of voice. And it also helps you schedule and batch so your content keeps working even when you're focused on other parts of your business. Now, it is the same process we use here at Black to Business to stay visible and consistent and showing up for you each and every week, especially during the busiest seasons. So the goal isn't to do more, it's to make what you're already doing work harder for you. So if you've been in a space where you're trying to stay visible and build credibility, but you're tired of doing it all from scratch every single week, the shortcut is for you. You can grab it at blacktobusiness.com/shortcuts and start building a plan that keeps your message consistent without the chaos. And I'll do you one even better. If you take our survey, so go to blacktobusiness.com/survey, you'll earn a $25 business credit, which you can use towards your purchase of the shortcuts. So that's blacktobusiness.com/survey. Now, this isn't something that we've advertised, so it's our gift to you, our favorite listener, encouraging you to show up even more in your business and to alleviate some of the work that you are doing. So again, take advantage of these shortcuts because this is what we use in Black to Business and it's amazing and we want to share it with you. So as we close out today's conversation, I do want to remind you that visibility will get you noticed, but credibility is what's going to keep you in the room. It's what makes people trust your name, value your work, and choose you again and again. Building credibility isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent, clear, and intentional with how you show up. And when you do that long enough, people start to connect the dots between your name and the results. And you don't need a blue check or big followers to be seen as credible. You just need to show proof through your message, your consistency, and your results. And I know it's easy to get caught up in comparing yourself to people who seem, quote unquote, further along. But I also know that credibility builds quietly and then all at once. It starts in those moments where you show up even when nobody's clapping yet. It builds every time you teach something valuable, show your process, or prove your results. So here's your challenge for this week. Choose one of the 4 C's we talked about: clarity, consistency, connection, or community proof, and focus on strengthening it. If you're not sure where to start, pick the one that feels weakest right now and give it your full attention for the next 30 days. Maybe that means refining your message, showing up more regularly, sharing more of your story, or asking for feedback from your audience. Whatever it looks like, make the decision to start. Because credibility isn't built in silence, it's built in action. And if you need help staying consistent with your message, check out the 30 days of content in hours shortcut at blacktobusiness.com/shortcuts. It's the same system that we use behind the scenes, and it's really designed to help you stay visible and credible without the overwhelm. So keep showing up, keep building boldly, and as always, keep pushing the culture forward. I'll see you back here next week. Later.